Okay.
Blues and purples, yeah.
Okay.
Keep that in
Wait,
mind.
just let me tell you that we're going to start with master prayer only.
Okay.
Okay, we change them all. And then you introduce yourself.
Introduce
Okay,
ourselves.
yeah, please.
Now?
Okay, Avatar, Meher Baba,
Baba.
Ki Jai.
Jai.
Okay, we are going to start with Kristin and Charlie Kehler, our guest today. And please, Kristin, introduce yourself, just very short, briefly. And Charlie, then we go for Master Prayer. We come back to you, and please then share your story. Okay?
Jai Baba. I am Kristin Kehler, and I am from the U.S., and I'm staying right now at Marabat for a few months. Happy to be here.
And I'm Charlie Kehler, and we retired about 4 years ago, and we've been coming and spending a big part of the winter here for those 4 years. And our children are just barely old enough to take care of themselves, so we're able to do this. So.
Okay, shall we start with prayers, master prayers? And then we come back to Charlie and Kristin. Okay. Meher Baba Ki Jai. O Parvardigar, the preserver and the protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and perception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but through the eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds, and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all-knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all-merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the Trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parameshwar. You are the beyond God and beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yazdam, Ahura Mazda, and God the Beloved. You are named Izzat, the only one worthy of worship. Avatar, Meher Baba Ki Jai. Okay. Okay, please start. Yes, Charlie or Kristin?
You all ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Okay.
Well, I'm going to start by telling you the story of how I came to Marabat and some of what happened, and then Charlie will tell you an interesting story, and we'll sing a couple of songs.
Thank you.
So, Jai Baba. So, I grew up in a family with no religion and no experience of God. My father was an atheist. He thought people who believed in God were ridiculous, and I believed that too. And we never went to church. Well, sometimes we went just to sing Christmas carols. But there was no sense of God. The first time I ever heard of Mayor Baba, I think I saw a poster and it said, "Don't worry, be happy." And I thought that was a terrible thing, that there was much to worry about in the world and that we should be worried, and he was irresponsible to say something like that. So that was the attitude I had. And I was studying psychology to be a therapist, and I thought I knew so many things. And it was the hippie era in the US, and so we all like to take a lot of drugs, and we're very irresponsible. I was, in any case. So sometime in the 70s, I met a man called Patrick Carlson in California, and he had this picture of this very odd picture of somebody on his bureau, and I said, "Who is it?" He said, "Mayor Baba." And I thought, oh no, I don't like this. I don't like Indian gurus, and I hope it's not serious. But I fell in love with him anyway, and it was serious. But I thought, I can just be in this relationship, and we were going to get married. I can marry him, and I can just leave the Mayor Baba part out. So we decided to get married, and in the wedding ceremony, I would not allow the word God to be present in the ceremony. And he had to really think about that, if he was marrying the right person. And then he said he wanted some quotes by Mayor Baba in the ceremony, and I said, okay, but they just have to be short, in the middle. So I hope nobody would notice, because I felt very embarrassed about anything like that. So we got married. We were going to take 6 months and travel all over the world. We were going to Europe. I wanted to go to Nepal, to Sri Lanka. I wanted to go here, go there. All he wanted to do was come to Mehrabad. And I really didn't want to go to Mehrabad, but it was very important to him, and he kept saying, these people are like my family. They are so amazing. And he had a very difficult family background. So I thought, well, he needs a substitute family. He needs a father figure, this Mayor Baba, but I don't need anything like this. I'm happy. I don't need false ideas. So I agreed to go to Mehrabad for 2 weeks only, and I said, I'll go, but I don't want to go inside any tombs. Nothing, and I said, nothing weird. And I heard somebody said people bowed down, and I thought, definitely not. I am not bowing down, and I'm not going in the tomb. And he said, okay, you don't have to. I said, good. Okay, so that was that. So we had a nice time traveling around through Europe, and we finally arrived in India. The minute we arrived in India, I loved India. I felt at home. And then eventually we wended our way to Ahmednagar. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, we arrived in Ahmednagar. Could not find anything. Took a rickshaw out toward Arangaon village in the middle of the night, and he wasn't sure where he was going, and I was getting angry. And I thought, this is stupid. We shouldn't go to this Mayor Baba thing, and let's just leave. But then all of a sudden, he said, oh, there it is. And he made the rickshaw pull into this place where there was some buildings in the dark. And I couldn't see anything. It just looked like nothing, And so we pull in with this rickshaw, and all of a sudden, a door bangs, and a man comes out and starts yelling at the top of his lungs, you stupid pilgrims, you waking everybody up. What are you doing? Why don't you go to the MPC? Why are you coming here and waking us up? And I thought, what kind of a spiritual place is this? This is some kind of a madman. And so Patrick said, he jumped out of the rickshaw and he says, Padre! And so he and Padre start hugging, and I just stay in the rickshaw. I don't want to even meet him. And so, I mean, Padre's happy because he had met Patrick before, and they're happy to see each other. Then Heather comes out. She lived there at Novemeber, and they're all greeting each other. And I just want to leave. I don't like it. I don't like Padre. I don't like anything. And then Patrick finds out that Erico, his old friend, is the night watchman up on the hill. So he wants to go see Erico, which means he has to go up to this tomb, which I said I didn't want to go to. So then I have a problem. I either have to stay with Padre or go up to the tomb. So I thought, okay, the tomb can't be as bad as Padre, so let me go. But I won't go in. I will just stand there and I won't go in. So we go up the hill. It's dark. There's nothing. There's nobody. We go up the hill. He finds Erico. He's hugging Erico, and they're talking. They go over by Mansari's kitchen or something so they can talk. And there's this little building with a dome and a big sign that says silence. And there's nobody there. And I'm standing there thinking, maybe that's the tomb. I don't know, but I'm not going near it. So I'm just standing, like, between the mandap and the samadhi. And then this woman comes, and she has a pot of water that she's carrying and some rags. And she comes and she smiles at me and she opens the door of the tomb and she goes like this. She beckons to me, come. And she doesn't say anything because it's so silent. And so I said, and she's like, and I said, and nobody's there. I can't get any help. It says silence. I can't talk to her. I can't say. I don't want to go in there, and I'm not interested in Mayor Baba, and I'm leaving very soon. So I just keep going, no. And she keeps going like this. So finally, and she keeps showing me the pot of water and this rag and saying, so then I think, okay, I'm really not being very nice. And I'm not being very culturally sensitive. She needs help. She has this pot, she needs help cleaning, and she's asking me to help her, and I'm saying no. So I should go and help her. That would be the good thing to do. So I think, okay, I'll just help her clean up whatever is the mess in there, and then I'm leaving. So I go over, and she gives me the pot. Now she's happy, and she gives me the pot and the rag, and she says, go clean up the corner. So I go in, I step over the threshold with the pot thinking, this is so stupid. And as soon as I step over the threshold, I just begin to weep and weep. And I have such a feeling I've never felt in my life. And it's like my mind is in two. Or it's really my mind and my heart. My heart is saying, this is what the whole world is looking for. This is what everybody wants. And here I am. And I never knew this. I never knew I was looking for anything. This is everything. Everything is right here. And the other part of my mind is going, oh, this is terrible. Now you're crying and everything. You're having jet lag. And you never should have come in here to clean this thing. Just get out of here. And so that was going on. So those two parts of my mind or voice were going on for a long time. And I just kept cleaning and crying. Then I came out. Then I wandered around. Heather tells now that we came back down the hill, and Erico and Heather were there, and they looked at me and they said, well, that was fast. Meaning Baba just, so after that, I just kept walking around everywhere crying. I couldn't stop going to the Samadhi. Then I wanted to go to the museum and every place that Baba had ever been. And I would just cry every time I came into contact with anything that he had touched or wherever he had been. And, but my mind was still saying, something's wrong, you're having jet lag, you shouldn't be crying all the time, maybe you're having a mental breakdown. So Patrick said, well, don't worry, it's okay. So then one day, I couldn't stay away from the Samadhi. So then what happened next, after a few days, I'm sitting in the Samadhi, and I suddenly look at the window, and Meher Baba just goes by, outside the window. And he was very young, and he had long hair, and a long white sadra. And he was going fast. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, he's so beautiful, so beautiful. And then the other part of my mind is going, oh no, you're having a hallucination. Oh, this is bad. So then I kept really going to the Samadhi all the time. And then every now and then I would just see him a couple of times outside, just walking really fast. And I was looking for him, and he was very young. And then one day I was there, and then I looked up and I saw him standing like in the corner of where they have the painting now, the corner that comes like that, and he was just standing there. And I mean, I could have, put my hand through. It wasn't like I thought it was solid, but I could see him so clearly, and he was very young, and he was, it was really magnificent. And so I was just amazed. And then my voice is still going, you're having a hallucination, this isn't good, and it's because there are too many pictures of Meher Baba everywhere. So now you have a hallucinating Meher Baba everywhere. But I knew, in some way, I knew that I wasn't making it up. But then after a while, I began to think, okay, maybe I'm not making it up exactly, but it's like I'm imagining it. If I just think, oh, I want to see Meher Baba, then I can make myself see Meher Baba. So then I thought, okay, that makes sense. I'm just imagining that I see Meher Baba. And then I thought, okay, well. So then I went along like that. Then one day, but still I would just look there and I was imagining that I was seeing him. So later in the story, I'll tell you how it turned out. It wasn't imagination, but at that time, that was how I made peace with my mind. I was imagining. Then one day I'm sitting in the Samadhi, and I still am not God, avatar, all that stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't even listen when people talk about it. It's like, I'm in love with Meher Baba, but I don't want to hear the rest, So one day I'm sitting in the Samadhi, and then I hear a voice. And the voice says, you have trouble with the concept of avatar, right? And I said, yeah, I don't understand that. So the voice says, well, it's an Eastern concept. It's not meant for the Westerners. So don't worry about it. You don't have to believe in an avatar. And I thought, oh, I don't. Good. And then the voice, and then I said, this is Meher Baba's voice. It wasn't like it was out loud. Nobody else could hear it, but it was very distinct words. I still to this day remember these words exactly. So then he says, so you don't have to think I'm the avatar. You just think that I'm your best friend. And I thought, oh, that's nice. That's good. Fine, I'm fine. Then he says, but you believe in psychology? And I said, well, yeah, okay, I believe in psychology. He said, oh, okay. So in psychology, do you have a concept of a higher self? And I was thinking, and I said, yes, there is that concept of a higher self. So then he said, well, that's what I am. I'm your higher self. I'm part of you. I'm your higher self. And I said, okay, all right. I thought, okay, I can live with this. And then he says, but the important thing is you must obey that voice. Well, the one thing I didn't like to hear was anything about obeying. That sounded like, people obey Hitler or something. I didn't like that. I have to obey something? So I said, okay. I thought, well, maybe that's not a problem. Okay, I'll obey the higher self. So then I'm sitting in the Samadhi, feeling a little uncomfortable about I agreed to obey. And then the voice says, so get up and go outside and sit next to the tin cabin. And I said, but I just came here. My plan was to stay in the Samadhi for a while this afternoon and sit here. But you need to obey this voice, right? I thought, oh no. So, okay. So I got up and I went outside and I sat next to the tin wall there. And I thought, okay, well, I did that. It's enough. And then the voice says, okay, now get up and go over and stand near the mandap. And I thought, what? I just sat down here. I don't want to go stand by the mandap. But you said you'd obey the voice.
Yeah.
So, okay, all right. So I got up and I went over to the mandap. Just getting comfortable there. It's like, okay, now walk over here and go over to where the water is. Well, I was getting very fed up with this, but it took a while. Finally, I understood. I have to listen to this voice. I have to do what this voice says. It's just training me right now. It's not important whether I'm sitting here or standing there. I'm being trained to listen and follow what this voice tells me to do. So for about an hour and a half, 2 hours that afternoon, I was in training. Go here, do this, do that. So that was the beginning of that. So I stayed for 2 months at Maribot. Yeah, instead of 2 weeks. See, I was only staying for 2 weeks. But we stayed for 2 months. I loved it. I still kept thinking, well, when I heard that voice, then there's another part of me going, well, now you're having an auditory hallucination, and that's much worse than a visual hallucination. Maybe you are having a psychotic break, and you need some medication or go back to the US or something. But I knew that that wasn't true. I knew that what I was experiencing was true. But I still thought, maybe I'm just making it up. Maybe it's not real. Maybe I'm making it. So anyway, after a while, I went back to the US, and then we stayed for a while. Then Patrick and I came back for another trip to India. And maybe a year and a half later, and I thought, oh, I'll be able to just imagine Mayor Baba in the Samadhi again. Won't that be nice? So I go to the Samadhi, and I sit down, and I look where Mayor Baba should appear. Nothing. I could not imagine. I couldn't make him show up anymore.
Conjure him up.
And I couldn't conjure him up. So I thought, well, what is this? And then I thought, oh, well, I don't know. But I had a good time. And so I didn't worry about it too much. So then I went back to the US, and after another year of different things, my husband Patrick suddenly one day was killed in a car accident like that. And that night I went to the funeral home, and I brought a photo of Baba. They told me I could come at 6 o'clock. I brought a photo of Baba. They said to bring some clothes to dress him, and that I would be able to see the body. I said, I need to see the body to know that this is real, that this happened, because I was in shock. I'd never seen anybody who died. And so I came back at 6 o'clock with the photo of Baba, And then they explained how we would go in the room and what I would see. And so we came in, and Patrick was lying on this hospital bed. And I looked at him and I thought, this is not Patrick. It is a body, yes, but it's nothing, you know, this doesn't make any sense. So I was just standing there. I didn't know what to do. I was with a couple of friends, and I said, in my mind, I said, Baba, where is he? Where's Patrick? Because I don't understand this, and I need to know where he is. And right at that moment, there was this hospital bed that he was lying on, and I was standing down here, and then suddenly at Patrick's head, I saw Baba. And I had not seen him since that first visit, when he would like run by the window or be in the corner, and he was standing there, but he wasn't young. You know, I always thought, oh, Baba's so beautiful when he was young, so that's why I imagined him being young. But this time, he was not young. He was in his older form, quite older. That very, very compassionate gaze that he gives you, where you feel that he feels everything that you feel. He knows everything. So that was the feeling I had from him. The communication is, I know everything that you're feeling, and all of your experience is contained in me. And it's okay, but there's tremendous pain. And right then, Patrick was standing next to him too. So I saw Patrick also. But the one odd thing was that he had a blue shirt on, and I had brought a red shirt. So I'm looking at the body on the bed that has a red shirt, and I'm looking at the next to Baba, Patrick, standing there, that not quite physical form, and he has a blue shirt. And I'm thinking, why does he have a blue shirt when I brought the red shirt? So it's kind of ridiculous, right? But it showed me also that in a way I wasn't imagining it, because if I'd imagined it, I would have put him in a red shirt. And I'm thinking, why did he get a blue shirt? Why didn't he want to wear the red shirt? So anyway, so they're standing like this, Baba, Patrick, and then Patrick just moves in front of Baba, and then I can't see him anymore. And I thought, oh, that answered my question. I asked Baba, where is he? And Baba just said, he's like that. He's in me. He's like, oh. And then I felt like everything is okay. It's fine. And then I knew, and also Baba's eyes were telling me, I knew I was in for intense pain, the pain of grieving and losing and all that human feeling, but that really everything was fine. Right. And the Baba was just there, and he must have been there for I don't know how long, a few minutes. I was just looking at Baba more than the body, just looking at Baba, looking at Baba. And I never saw Baba like that again. And from that, I knew that I thought that I could make things up, but I had never made it up. It was, he would just show himself, because that was what I needed. And then he showed himself for the last time that day. And then I looked back on all the other times and thought, oh. So that is, and then after he died, I came back here, and then I've been coming back here ever since. So that is the story of coming to Mehrabad mostly.
What year did you first come?
That was in 1980 I first came, and he died in 1984, and then I came then, and then it was in the 90s we moved to South India, and then we came a lot. Then there was a gap. We didn't come because I had kids in the U.S. And,
Kristin, who was the lady when first time asked you with Samadhi to go and clean with her? It was Mansari?
It was not Mansari. It was Meru Bilamoria. Oh. She was a woman who many, many years lived at Lower Mehrabad, and one of her jobs was to open the Samadhi in the morning and do the cleaning. Meru Bilamoria.
Unlike now where there's a whole
Yeah.
army of people.
No, and there was nobody there. And Mary Villamoria was a
Where was
very,
Mansari at that time? Because
Yes,
Mansari
lived up there, but she wasn't the one who opened it and did the cleaning.
Okay.
Mansari was always there at nighttime, but she didn't always come in the morning for the cleaning. It was Mary Villamoria, and she was a very insistent person, which was why she didn't take no, you know. She didn't take, and she just kept doing that. When I told her the story later, she laughed so
Yeah.
much.
Is she Darius Villamoria's mother?
I don't know.
I wonder.
How old is he?
He's probably my age or a little our age.
I don't know. She died maybe 10, 15, 20 years, 15 years ago. That's she might be.
Might be.
Villamoria. Yeah.
He always talks about his mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Could be that.
could be. Could be her. Yeah.
And Patrick, I'll say, wore Baba's favorite color. Why wouldn't he?
The red. Yeah.
No, blue.
Oh, the blue.
Yeah, in his ethereal form. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't he wear
I
Baba's
don't know.
favorite
I
color?
just like because I thought he was going to wear red. You wanted to sing this?
If this is, you can sing this and then decide if you want to tell more, or you could.
Okay. Or we could go to you, or
Feel like taking a break from talking, or come back to talking?
actually, let's sing this and then let me tell the story about Mara, and then we can go to yours. Okay, so this is a song that I wrote when I first came here, and it's sort of about this coming here. Baba loves his game, he shuffles the cards, he lovingly plays all the parts. I weep and I laugh and open my hand, he's dealt me the king of hearts. I landed up in Marabad despite my old objections. I thought I held my image clear, now find we're just reflections. Baba loves his game, he shuffles the cards, he lovingly plays all the parts. I weep and I laugh and open my hand, he's dealt me the king of hearts. I thought I had a private God that I could glimpse occasionally. I'd sit and watch the sunsets, painting skies across the sea. Baba loves his game, he shuffles the cards, he lovingly plays all the parts. I weep and I laugh and open my hand, he's dealt me the king of hearts. If I were ocean, he'd be sea. If I were bird, he'd be a dove. But now I'm here in human form, he's come as one that I can love. Baba loves his game, he shuffles the cards, he lovingly plays all the parts. I weep and I laugh and open my hand, he's dealt me the king of hearts. Oh, Baba smiles and winks, he says, reach out your cup, I will pour. Never mind your tangled thoughts, think much less and love me more. Baba loves his game, he shuffles the cards, he lovingly plays all the parts. I weep and I laugh and open my hand, he's dealt me the king of hearts. Oh, Baba loves a silly song, for love and music can be heard. Don't worry what to write, he says, I'll whisper to you every word. Baba loves his game, he shuffles the cards, he lovingly plays all the parts. I weep and I laugh and open my hand, he's dealt me the king of hearts.
That's so beautiful.
So, I remember now why I wrote that song is because I was sitting in Mandalay Hall and Erich was talking about free will. And, you know, I grew up as a sort of intellectual, you know, my father was a college professor. But when it comes to Baba, I cannot read any books about abstractions. I can read stories about people who lived with Baba, but that's all. So Eric's just talking about free will, and my head is going, "Ooh," like that. And after a while, I couldn't get it, so I just left, and then I wrote that song, which is my idea of free will, is that we all have a hand. We're dealt a hand, and all our choice is how are we going to play the cards?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and he gave us the King of Hearts, so the hand is good. This lifetime I have a good hand, you know. But that's all life is. It's just a card game. So I'll tell you one more story about Mara. So, oh my goodness. So in the early days, you know, even in the 80s, I didn't come in the 70s when Charlie and Patrick and everybody did, but even in the 80s, Mara was so present and so full of stories and so involved with everybody's lives, and I didn't understand who Mara was really at all. But I used to like to go and listen to all the stories and just sort of be there. And so one day, it was the second trip I was there. Oh, I forgot the Mohammed part. Oh well.
Yeah, go back.
Back, okay. Hold on, Mara. The first trip we came, the first day we were here, after I got over my experience at the Samadhi, we were with Erica and Heather, and their responsibility was taking care of Mohammed Must, and they lived next door to him. So they wanted to introduce us to Mohammed. So we went to the porch, and Mohammed was there, and Erica was saying, you know, this is my friend Patrick, and this is his wife. So Mohammed goes, he just looks at Patrick like this. He doesn't even look at me. He just looks at Patrick, and then he says something to Erica, and Erica starts laughing, and everybody says, what? He says, Mohammed says you're going to heaven. And I thought, why didn't Mohammed say I'm going to heaven? But what it was that obviously Mohammed could see he wasn't bound in time. And when he looked at Patrick, what he saw was that this person didn't have much time.
Right.
He was just here on his last, you know, couple visits to Mehrabad, and then he was moving on. And so, but none of us understood that. But certainly I didn't. I just thought, well, why is he so special? And I don't. Anyway, so that's that first thing that happened. So these are examples of these people that we were so privileged to meet, had such a relationship to Baba and such an understanding of the world, unlike anything I could imagine. So there I was, and I had known Mara the first few months, and talked to her all the time and go and sing her songs and this and that. And then I came back for the second trip, and still with Patrick, and I had been married to Patrick the whole first trip. And so on the second trip, one day I'm leaving to go on the bus, and
Mara.
I'm leaving, and Mara, comes running down the steps off the porch and calls to me, wait, doesn't call my name, just wait. So I stop and turn around. I was like, what? And she says, what's your name? And I thought, I'm embarrassed to say, I thought, well, she's getting older, so she doesn't quite remember my name. So I said, Kristin. And she said, not that name. What is your surname? And I said, McLean. And she said, and what is your husband's name? And I said, Carlson. And she said, why do you not have your husband's name? And I said, well, in America, women don't always take their husband's name, and we have a new movement called feminism, and we believe in keeping our own names. I mean, I don't know what I said, stupid things. But I started explaining feminism to Mara about the United States and women's rights and da da da. So Mara listens like this, and then she just interrupts and she says, "That's ridiculous." And her eyes flash. And Mara was usually very sweet. She was not sweet. She was like, "That's ridiculous." So I stopped explaining feminism, and she said, I wish I could remember exactly what she said, but she talked about men being very vulnerable.
Yes.
And in a weaker position socially, and women, it was something women needed to do to help men. Something like that. I'm not getting the words right, but her meaning was, this is something you do in a marriage. This is what you give this. This is something, it's not like you're being subjugated. And I thought, well, marriage is oppressive to women. She was saying, no, you've got it all wrong. And then she said, I kept arguing sort of, and she said, it's just attachment. Change your name. And she turned off and she stomped up the stairs and went in the house.
Oh my goodness, wow.
And I thought, well, now what? I didn't want to change my name. I was very sure I didn't want to change my name. None of my friends changed names. Nobody changed. I didn't want to change my name to a man's name. It's like my name. So I was definitely attached. And also, when I was on my way the first time to come to Mehrabad, we stopped in London, and Adi Jr., Baba's younger brother, had said to me, you don't have to do anything the Mandali say because they're not Baba. So I thought, right. So I thought, okay, he said I don't have to listen to the Mandali. So I don't have to do what Mara says because she's not Baba. So, and then I started going around and asking everybody that I could find that was married. I would say, did you change your name when you got married? And they would say yes or no, whatever. And then I would ask, if Mara tells you to do something, do you have to do it? People would be, well, she's Baba's beloved. If Baba would have done something, if Mara, but anyway, so nobody would just say, yes, you have to. They would tell me stories that times that they didn't do what Mara had suggested and it didn't turn out well. But I wanted somebody to say, no, you don't have to listen to anybody. You do what you want. You can keep your name. Because I wanted to keep my name. Me. It was all about my name and my beliefs and pride. And also I had a lot of friends who were definitely not interested in Meher Baba. And I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to go back and tell them somebody in India told me to change my name? No, I can't do that. That's too embarrassing. So I thought about it and thought about it. Patrick said, I don't care what you do. This has nothing to do with me. It's between you and Mara. I said, oh. And so she dropped it. She didn't say anything more about the name, but I kept thinking, oh. Then we went back to the U.S. and I thought, well, I don't have to change my name. She'll never know. And then, so time went by, months went by, and I'm still thinking, I'm not changing my name. Well, maybe I should. No. So it just kept going like that. After about a year went by, one day I thought, I should change my name. Mara told me to change my name. I should change it. Because she told me to. I don't want to, but I should do this. So I guess something changed inside of me. I had a glimpse, maybe a little bit of, actually, Mara was somebody to listen to. So I had to go to court to change my name by this time. Because if you just get married, you can just change it. But then if you wait too long, you have to go to court and papers and everything. So I went to court, I changed my name, and I didn't write to Mara and tell her that. I thought, well, I'll just tell her later, or she'll see later when I come visit. But I'm not going to write and tell her I did it, because I was still. Another, maybe a few weeks went by, and that's when Patrick was killed in a car accident. And so a friend that was with me said, who should I call? And I said to my friend, call Charlie Kehler. He'll know who to contact in India, because I knew that the Mandali needed to know that Patrick had died. That was my first thought. Call Charlie Kehler and he will contact the Mandali. So Charlie sent a telegram to Mara and said, Patrick's been killed in a car accident. And I forget now who it was, but somebody, a friend of ours, was there when Mara read the telegram. And so she opened it and she read it and she was just like, oh. And then she stopped and she said, it's a good thing she changed her name.
Wow.
So, first of all, Mara knew I had changed my name, even though nobody told her. She knew because she's Mara. And she knew also, like Mohammed had known earlier when we first went, she knew that Patrick didn't have a lot of time. I didn't have a lot of time. And if I wanted to, this is how I'm making it up in my mind, but I think there's some truth in this, that I didn't have a lot of time to get rid of a lot of my pride and attachment to how I thought I wanted to be. And that this was a very big thing for me to do, and if I would do it as like being obedient, essentially, the way Baba's voice had said, listen to this voice and do it. If I just would obey Mara simply because she told me to do this, never mind the politics that I thought about it, and that I would give this to Patrick, in a sense, giving up that pride, it would really help me in this lifetime. It would help me so much if I could do that. And she knew I didn't have a lot of time, and that's why she got angry. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand, of course, but now I look back and I feel tremendously grateful that she was willing to, take me on, because I was very stubborn and willful and all of that. So
wonderful, wonderful story. Makes me think now I should go back and change my name.
But there are many, many people that did not change their name when
they weren't told by Mara either.
No, because in many cases that was not the issue. See, what she knew is that I had this huge piece of pride and attachment that the name was tied up in. And then, a couple of years later, I adopted a baby in Pune, and Patrick's family was not interested in this baby from India, and my family was very excited. So I thought the baby should have my family's name. She should join my family and not have Patrick's family's name because they didn't care about her. And so I thought, oh, Mara's not going to like this because she told me to change my name. So I went and I thought, well, I'll just talk to Mara about it and tell her what I'm thinking. And I went and said, Mara, my family really wants this baby as part of the family. And I was wondering what you thought about changing the baby's, having the baby's name be my family's name. And she said, Mani McLean, yes, that's the right name. Just like that. And then I said, well, I should probably change my name to go with hers and be Kristin McLean. She said yes. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't that I should do that forever. It was like each situation was different. So we changed our name, and then we all changed our name to Charlie's name. I've changed my name so many times.
Changing name car.
I know I've had like 5 different.
In my country also, women, they don't change.
Yeah, but not because of pride, huh? Or something else.
It's
tradition.
something like, tradition is it.
But see, in the U.S., everybody did change their name, and then the women's movement said, don't change your name. So we were like, not doing it. Yeah.
Lovely story. Would you like to sing, Charlie?
Okay.
Okay, Charlie, singer
Well, I'll tell you a little introduction to a song I'm going to sing. I first came to India in 1972, and someone had told me, could have been Erico, one thing you might think about bringing to India is a musical instrument, because people sit on Mira's porch and they play songs, and they like that entertainment. So I said, okay, I have a banjo, I'll bring a banjo. I was just strictly an amateur. I didn't play it that often. I knew a few songs, and I remember learning one shortly before I left, and so I didn't have too many songs to play, but I had this one. And so,
I'm sorry, Charlie, can you say about your instrument?
banjo.
Yeah.
It's a 5-string banjo. It's an American instrument. Its origin is in Africa. It came to America with slaves. It always has a little 5th string that doesn't change, whatever you do. And that's sort of why it always sounds a little funny. Very happy instrument. So I'm sitting there in Mira's porch, and I decide to sing this one song that I knew well enough to just pull it off. And so I'll tell you what the words say. It says, I've got a never-ending love for you. From now on, that's all I want to do. All right? So I'll play the song. A little banjo joke.
Oh, a banjo joke.
Yes, please.
Because it's hard to tune the banjo, I have to tell a joke.
Oh,
So, let's see. What is the difference between a banjo, and the banjo jokes always make the banjo bad. What is the difference between a chainsaw, you know, that you chop down trees, and a banjo? The answer is you can turn off a chainsaw.
But not that one.
And then another banjo joke is,
Okay, do that one.
another banjo joke is, how do you tune a banjo? What's the best way to tune a banjo? And the answer is wire cutters.
I've got a never-ending love for you. From now on, that's all I wanna do. From the first time we met, I knew I'd have a never-ending love for you. After all this time of living alone, we're gonna love one another, care for each other from now on. From now on. Feels so good I can hardly stand it. Got a never-ending love for you. From now on, that's all I wanna do. From the first time we met, I knew I'd find this never-ending song of love for you. From never-ending love for you. From now on, that's all I wanna do. From the first time we met, I knew I'd sing this never-ending song of love for you. So, as I'm just finishing the song, not even finished, I can see that Mira is crying. Seriously crying. The year is 1972. Baba only died 3 years before. And so I'm going, uh-oh, I don't really know who Mira is. I don't know really what the rules are here. I don't understand much of anything. And this looks bad. But sitting next to me is Erico, who had been here the previous year. And he nudges me and he says, no, it's good, it's good. And then Mira stops and tells a story to everyone. She says, tell me again the words of that song. And I said,
Charlie, for the song, I need to stop you 1 minute. I change the tape, finished.
Okay. Change the tape.
Yeah. So I'm going to lose anything.
Tape A, tape B.
Stories, your experiences, oh my gosh.
Another banjo joke?
Yeah.
Write a book.
Oh, another instrument you see nobody likes in the US is the accordion. Accordion and banjo. So the joke is, if you took a banjo and an accordion to the highest building in New York and you dropped them both off, which one would land first? And the answer is, who cares?
More instruments.
Well, it's a little bit, I realize it's a little bit like a violin, which has a very thin neck. And you know, once in a while, a violin player comes to the Samadhi, and they never just play, never. They always tune up, and they stand there tuning. And people are going, oh, I thought they were going to sing or play. It's because the neck is very thin, and you just one string, and it changes them all. And you got to be each time.
I didn't know that.
And there's no guitars. Modern guitars have a big rod in the middle, but not a banjo. And so anyway.
So you
anyway,
needed a wife to perform, so
so-
you could have banjo jokes.
Yeah. Are we ready to begin again?
And
Yes,
Okay.
we sing it.
All right. So
We're
Mara
thinking.
stops everyone and says, "Tell me again the words to this song." And I say, "I've got a never-ending love for you. From now on, that's all I want to do." And she says, "I thought so." Those are exactly the words that Mayor Baba first spoke to me at Upasni's.
Oh my God.
The first time we met, I knew I'd have a never-ending love for you.
Baba said that to Mara?
Baba said that to Mira.
Oh my
To Mera or Opasni?
Baba said this to Mira.
to Mara.
Baba said this to,
I don't think he said the first time he met her, but about the first time.
nearly in the first, maybe not the first minute.
When
but
And then you wrote later?
I did not
years
write
later.
this song. It just, it's in the air in America, I don't know. I heard the song, I said, that's a great song, I'm taking this to India.
You heard it.
I heard it, I practiced it, I played it.
What age was Mara at Sequoia? What age was she when she was 14?
13, 14.
When she first was Baba?
When she first saw Baba, she was 13,
Yeah,
14.
too young.
And that's when Baba said that.
Said that to her.
No, I think when
Maybe
Baba said it
15.
to her, it was when she came later to the post office to live at Lower Marabad. And then Mara says there was an evening where he asked her to come out on the veranda of the post office, and they were alone together. I mean, other people were inside, and Mara said, and he told me many, many things.
Right.
And that was when Baba told her who she was to him and about his love for her. And I think that's when he told her, the first time I saw you, I knew
At Sequoia.
I would have a never-ending
For the
love.
first time.
When he saw her at Socorro,
When
he
he told
knew.
her at the post office.
Yeah.
And she's never shared that, is my understanding.
Oh,
I think she has.
not well,
Not in a book anyway,
Not in a book.
video.
Not a book.
and she
So-
didn't say when she said Baba told me many things, but she didn't say what.
And
But
then
she told
said,
Charlie,
but
this
then
is what
much I
Baba
can-
told me.
But then she said, this much I can say, and then she said, when I was rather, whatever,
Yeah.
I love you more than
But
I love
when
you.
I was singing this song, all she said was, it wasn't a big explanation, she just said, this is the first thing that Baba said to me. From the first time we met, I knew I'd have a never-ending love for you.
And she had been Radha.
She didn't say that.
That role.
She didn't, that wasn't part of what she said. She just
Recently I
said,
heard.
the words to this song, those were Baba's words.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, okay, I guess I hit the jackpot.
Recently
Yeah,
I
I
heard that,
remember.
and it didn't make sense because Baba always says that the role is the same, but the players are different, and they merge with him and other players take their part. That's how I understood the circle. But somebody said that Mara has has always been the same soul? Does that make sense to you guys? Does that ring a bell?
Well, anything could make sense.
Yeah, I've heard both things. I don't know.
I never saw
But
it
he
in
did say
writing.
it was for last life this time.
Yes, I've heard that. No, but I mean, that's the same soul played all the Advents.
That makes sense. Because Bob was the same soul.
So what would you like? Would you like me to tell the story?
If, please, if you like also, yeah, like.
Well, I'll tell a story about something that happened to me on January 31st, 1969. But before I go to that year, I need to go to introduce what happened to me. I need to go 20 years later to 1989. In 1989, Chris and I were married, and we were having in our house regular Baba meetings every 2 weeks. People from the area would come to our house in New Hampshire. And as on many evenings, people were starting the evening talking about something that happened to them, or they were thinking, or something they read about Baba since the last time we saw each other. How are you and Baba in your life? Where is it? And we were taking turns, and it was just about my turn, and I suddenly thought, oh, I don't have really anything to say. And then suddenly I thought, oh, wait, I had a dream last night. Oh yes, I should tell about my dream. And so I said to the group, well, I just now remembered I had a dream last night, and in this dream, I see a group far in the distance, together, looking at each other, talking, and then someone leaves the group, and I see it's Baba, and he's coming toward me. And he comes right just a few feet away. And I say, but what are you doing here just with me? This makes no sense. I mean, who am I? And he says, no, you don't understand. I've been taking care of you very carefully since long before those Tim Leary days. And I tell the group, I said, and that was the end of the dream. And then I say to the group, I don't know what that dream means. And someone in the group says, well, did you meet Tim Leary? Now, Tim Leary was a notorious promoter of the use of LSD, the most famous in America. He and a colleague from Harvard University named Richard Alpert, who later became Ram Dass, were the promoters of LSD. So they said, did you ever meet Tim Leary? I said, no, I met his colleague, Richard Alpert, in college, and, I heard him talk. Oh. And then suddenly I think, no, wait, I did meet him. And then I recalled an incident that occurred on January 31st, 1969. I was traveling, I was hitchhiking from Los Angeles to Northern California, a long distance. And I got a ride with people I didn't know. And it was very bad weather on a very dangerous highway on the coast. And a very big storm came up, and a number of rocks filled the road. The car went over a rock, it leaked oil, we had to stop and pull over. And we hailed the next car to say, help, well, we need some help here with our car. And this person said, all right, I'll take you just up the road, there's a motel, they'll have some motor oil out, you can get it, I'll bring you back. And so we did that. I got in the car with another hitchhiker, and so he drives us to the motel, we get the motor oil, we return, we put it in the car, he leaves us, and we drive another few miles, we leak more oil, and we have to stop the car. And this time we say, well, we'll spend the night in the car, we'll figure this out tomorrow. We start to go to sleep in the car, and shortly, less than an hour had passed, and some very big rocks tumbled down from the mountain down to the highway, and one lands them, but I could not say anything. I could only be passive. So we got there, and there was a giant party going on. We walked in, and they got some help. At this point, I was bleeding very badly.
I was gonna say.
And so they called an ambulance, the nearest town, Monterey. Must have been at least half an hour north. Came and picked me up, took me to the hospital. They treated me, they discharged me. I had a large bandage on my head, and early in the morning, I put out my phone and said, I'm a hitchhiker, I guess I still have to go to my town, Santa Cruz. I knew I was not doing too well. And I got off the highway where this person let me off, and there, right at the exit of the highway, I see a house and said, I have a friend who lives there. Very close, good idea, I'll go there. Knocked on the door, my friend was home, and her mother was home, and her mother was a nurse. And she put me to bed instantly and said, you've had a concussion. The hospital should not have let you go. This is very serious. Oh yes, and the hospital, they said, very lucky, because that is a very deep wound between your spinal cord and your main artery. It's very deep and very straight. Nothing, no damage, no injury, but close, really close. So I lay in bed for 5 days. On the second day, some friends had heard that I had an accident, and they came to visit, and one of them was our friend Erico. He came, how are you doing? You know, I heard you were in an accident. And, yeah, it looks like I had trouble remembering a lot of things. They were a little worried. And then he came again one more day. And about 5 days later, suddenly I woke up and said, I'm better. That fog is gone. I'm better. I must find my friend Erico and tell him I'm better. And in those days, we used to hitchhike everywhere. And I said, well, the highway's right there. I'll get on the highway. I'll hitchhike down to his cabin, just 2 miles down the road, and tell him. And I was a little foggy because someone stopped the car, picked me up, and he drove north instead of south. And it was half an hour before I realized what was going on. And so suddenly I go, he said, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going this town, that's south. He said, no, you're going north. Oh dear, he said. What now? And I said, well, where are you going? Berkeley. Oh, I said, well, I've never been there, and I guess that's my destination tonight.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? And he said, oh, well, okay. So he dropped me off an hour or more beyond where I had to go. And I got out. It was now evening. And he dropped me off at the student union area, the big plaza at this big university, University of Berkeley. And I said, oh yeah, I've heard of this place, and I'll just go up to the student union and see what next. I don't know. I don't belong here, but I went in, and there was a bulletin board with notices all over the wall. And I looked and said, oh, Mayor Baba meeting, Tuesdays, 7 o'clock. It's 6:45. Well, that's a good idea. And I go upstairs to the Baba meeting. And in the Baba meeting, I didn't know anybody in this town. I'm standing in the back, and they say, well, I'm sure you certainly all must know this, but it's possible somebody has been way in the woods and might not have heard. Only 5 days ago, Mayor Baba dropped his body. Wow. I was just amazed. I thought, and it was very curious because I didn't think of myself as a Baba lover. I'm certainly not a follower of Mayor Baba, but I knew this was big. Erico and I had read a few words of Mayor Baba, part of this book and part of that book. And so I spent the night with some friends from that Baba meeting, somebody who let me stay, and I left the next day in search again of my friend Erico. This is such big news, I must tell him. And I got back to this town of Santa Cruz, and when I found him, he said, yes, I just heard about this. Big news. Kind of strange for us who are not Mayor Baba followers. We just thought, amazing.
That sounds like you
So
hit your head with it.
Now I'm telling this dream 20 years later, and suddenly I go, oh, Mayor Baba just told me last night, I've been taking care of you since long before those Tim Leary days, which of course would mean kind of like those bad days, because that was a very negative influence. And so he's saying, oh, so long before that, I've been taking care of you. So he comes to really explain to me the position he has in my life, to make it clear. So
That story is so deeply touching. What time did that rock fall on you? I'm wondering on the 31st.
I don't know.
It was in the evening.
It was in the evening. It was like, middle of the night.
It could have been that far away from when he actually dropped his
And not
body.
that far away.
I mean, what comes to me is that he was letting you know the Lord of the universe was leaving. And he'd let you know.
Right,
So
right.
it's really,
It seems like he wanted to let me know, and
Yeah.
also kind of like, some people I can tell, some people I have to knock on the head. Well, I have no choice.
But you had been friends with Erico and some other.
With some other people who, we know one person, we're friends with one person who thought he was already a follower of Mayor Baba, but that wasn't us. We're just somehow passionately interested in what this was about, and we didn't know why.
And Erico had not been to Maribad or had not.
No, this was 1969. And it was later that same year that both of us had experiences where we thought, okay, that's it. Now we are Mayor Baba followers.
No, you wanted to tell us that.
Well, it was a smaller affair, but it just sort of became clear to both of us that, oh, I see. Reading something of Baba and thinking, okay, now I'm convinced this is it. But and I had forgotten the entire incident. I thought what was important was, the books I was reading and the things I was learning about Mayor Baba, and so I could even have a dream, and I wouldn't get it. I didn't get it then. I didn't get it 20 years later. He had to spell it out for me.
Well, that's 7 o'clock at night, would be 7 o'clock about in the morning here, when the news would begin to go out.
Yeah, I don't know what time it was, but it's somewhere within a few hours. Yeah.
Right. Even the
So-
people here had to get through their shock
Right.
and then get to a point where they could function and say, but we
Yeah.
need to let people know. It's a
So
beautiful story, both of yours are.
Amazing. So blessed to be here.
Such blessed things come out
yeah,
here
we're so
in
blessed.
this room.
Right.
Well, in this room too. Zara and Judy and the others that do this, it's
Yeah,
pearls.
my coming to Baba was actually, it makes it seem very sudden, but in reality, it was many years where I struggled with great self-doubt. And because I had a lot of self-doubt, I had a lot of doubt about Baba. And I could not clear my mind of the feeling that for me to have a relationship with somebody who's God, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't explain it to myself. And so I think, well, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe he's not God. Maybe I'm deceived. And I would just go back and forth for years until finally it went away.
Was God in your childhood, Charlie?
Yeah, I went to a church and I liked that and sang in the choir and I liked the stories of Jesus. But I wasn't.
Not heart.
I was touched by the singing in the church, but I didn't think of myself as that was a necessary part of my life.
Other song?
So I could play you a little song that came to me in a funny way. On this first trip, again, I really didn't understand anything. And I think I had read enough about spiritual books that I thought I would come to Maribad and literally I would have a spiritual experience, by which I think in my mind I kind of meant an occult experience. Something miraculous, wow. And nothing of the sort ever happened to me. And so I thought, well, now I've really got to dig in a little further and see what this is. And so I was just, sometimes it landed in the right spot when I wasn't thinking too hard, and other times I would just be lost, clueless. One day I was at the Samadhi in the middle of the morning, and in those days one of Mayor Baba's disciples named Kaikobad was there at the Baba's tin cabin, and he liked to come, he was very elderly, he liked to come and rest there on the edge with one or both of his daughters. They would accompany him and sit there. And I was sitting there with another Baba lover, and we were thinking, oh, it'd be fun to have another Baba song, you know, we could see what we could do. And we were playing something to entertain him and just light chit-chat. And this other Baba lover says, well, you know, there's, here we are in this arid area, but they have this Baba's arti about, you know, you're the captain of my ship, so maybe we need another song about a boat. And he said, so, yes. And he said, I know there's this old song from America about Lindy Burke. Let's change that. There's let's see, Baba's, that would be Baba's boat, okay. And within 30 seconds, these lines just came to this other person who was sitting there, and he said, yeah, put this to, give a chord, let's try this. And so we just said, now comes the banjo jokes.
All right, Kristin.
Okay, how many, yeah.
Dig into your repertoire. Well, this is not a banjo joke, but what's the difference between a ham sandwich and a piano? Well, you can eat them both except the piano.
Okay, so I just made this little, I made this little tune up to these words that just popped out of this guy's head. And it went like this. Oh, Baba's boat is a mighty fine boat, with a mighty fine captain too. And it's kind of as far as we got. We kind of went, oh, what comes next? And then we went to Merazad and we tried it out on the Women Monthly, and Meru loved this. The boat, she said, oh yes. Oh, Baba's boat is a mighty fine boat, with a mighty fine captain too. He stays up there on Marabah Hill, and he keeps his eye on the crew. She was off and running, and so she dictated the verses. The song became ascribed to me, but I just carried it along. Oh, from Meher Baba, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take his diamond and hold it to my heart till the Baba ship comes around. Now this is really narrow here. Oh, Baba's boat is a mighty pretty ship, just as fast as she is true. Just think how short the trip would be if it weren't for the seasick crew. Oh, for Meher Baba, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take his diamond and hold it to my heart till the Baba ship comes around. The melody comes directly from this old American song, not a note changed. Oh, Baba's boat is a mighty fine boat, with a mighty fine captain too. He sails around the 7 seas and the infinite ocean too. Oh, for Meher Baba, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take his diamond and hold it to my heart till the Baba ship comes around. The waves of love that hit Baba's boat will drench you through and through. But Baba sings as Baba steers so that no one is ever blue. Oh, for Meher Baba, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take his diamond and hold it to my heart till the Baba ship comes around. Oh, for Meher Baba, I'm bound to leave this town. I'll take his diamond and hold it to my heart till the Baba ship comes around. Till the Baba ship comes around. Till the Baba ship comes around.
Oh!
That was really Nehru for all those lines?
Yes,
Oh my God.
yeah.
So she's written another song too, I forget.
Meredith?
Meru, yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Very clever,
Sure
you
you
know.
could have caffeine in that coffee. Obviously.
Well, that's the whole story.
That's awesome.
Do you want to say anything about how you two got together?
Thank you. I was gonna ask.
Oh, good. That
Well,
was so
Patrick-
yeah, okay, let me tell.
You tell, okay.
What were you saying? What was the first part you were saying?
That Patrick and you were friends.
Oh, yeah, we knew each other in California, like within the first month or week almost of my being in
Charlie, say
Santa Cruz.
exactly who you're talking about.
I'm talking about her first husband, Patrick.
Patrick
Okay.
Carlson.
Okay,
Yeah, Patrick
okay.
Carlson. And he was native of California, and he was living in this town of Santa Cruz on a commune that he had formed with none other than Biff Soper. who lives
Oh
in-
my God, the story's getting thick.
So,
And also
and
Will
Bill-
David.
Biff Soper started to work at a renowned garden project at the university, and he was the only one we knew who was a follower of Mayor Baba. But he got this other person interested, Will David, who was in the garden. So Will David, Biff Soper, Patrick, I, many others were in this commune.
Amazing.
The first day I ever met Patrick, he was making some candles, and they were selling candles, raising money, and as I left, he turned to me and said, "Wait, I'll walk you toward the driveway," and said as he left, "We're going to be really good friends,
Oh,
really good." And I thought, that's a very odd thing to say to somebody the first day you meet them. He said, "So, here, my favorite belt I give to you." And he pulled it off and said, "This is my gift to you." And
this is Will
so
or Biff?
this is
Patrick.
Patrick,
Oh,
her
Patrick.
first husband.
Thank you, I tuned out.
So they got married. I knew that many years later in 1979, 78. Yeah, 78. And I knew they'd been to India, and I knew that Kristin had some unusual experience, the story that she just heard. So when they got back to Boston, Patrick said, "Come to dinner, and I'll introduce you to Kristin." So I went out to dinner with them. She told the story you just heard, and all I thought was, "Wow, you hit the jackpot. This is somebody who responds well to Mayor Baba, even against her will." And I held that in my mind until many years later. And I reached age 40, and a little bell went off in my head that said, I'm not kidding, a voice in my head said, "Now is the time to get married. Now." And I had no one in mind. I wasn't dating anybody, nothing. Just the voice said, "Get married now." And I thought, well, I don't know, what shall I do? Well, I'll visit some old Baba friends, and I'll go and visit Kristin. So the rest happened. So
It was prearranged.
it was
It
prearranged.
felt that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was definitely prearranged.
So Patrick had to leave.
For
Yeah.
us to get married.
I
Yeah.
did.
My
The next
relationship
chapter.
with Patrick was short.
Very
I mean, it was only 6 years or
To
so.
get you to India.
He got me to
That
India.
was his
What the
assignment.
mandala used to say is he got me here. He took me to Baba, and I kept him with Baba.
That was
Because
nice.
he'd been a very kind of wild boy, in his Santa Cruz, California days, and did a lot of drugs, and just was kind of always veering off the path. And so he got me here, and then he stopped using all drugs and just
Well, you were
stayed with Baba until the
You were
end.
his last assignment.
I was his last.
Then he could leave, but
That's
he
right.
had to get you to India.
Yeah.
How long before Patrick went to Baba and you two married?
About 5 years. I mean, we knew each other. We saw each other during that
It was
time.
a considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I felt like I needed to really heal. I also adopted a baby in that time. Money. And, but I saw Charlie now and then. We were always friends, but I wasn't ready to get married again. And then we were.
Because he had to, because
He had to. And also, within a year of getting married, we had another child, a biological child, that neither of us thought we were gonna have children. But then he popped in, so he needed to get born. And then we adopted a third child, which everybody kept saying, are you crazy? You know, the first two children we have are such a handful there, so what are you doing adopting another child? It was like, it just felt like there's another place. So now they're 3.
what are their ages now?
31, 27, 22.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Amazing stories.
The third one?
The third one's name is Mira, and she was born in Tamil Nadu. When we lived there, we adopted her, and when she was little, we all came up here a lot for school vacations. And
Kristin, did you get any message or just feeling?
about the adoption,
Yeah.
it was just a strong feeling. It was like a knowing. But with my older daughter, I knew the exact moment I needed to start the adoption process. It was like, then I could hear that voice saying, it's time. You're going to adopt a baby from India. And I know exactly where I was standing and everything. And I went right home from this conference, and I got on the telephone, and the person I talked to ended up being the social worker. And, you know, it was just like,
Can I ask what voice was saying to you or not?
just, it's time to start the adoption process. You're going to adopt a baby from India. I was like, okay, hurry.
Obey.
Hurry. And I knew within a few weeks of when she was born. I wanted her to be born later because I wanted a smaller baby, you know, a brand new baby. I had all these ideas in my mind. I want this, I want that.
Wait,
But
how
one
old
day-
was she?
When I saw her first, she was 2 months old.
Oh.
And when I was able to take her, she was 6 months, and brought her to Mariband. But there was a day I woke up in the U.S. It was in May, and I thought, oh no, the baby's about to be born. I'm not ready. I'm still working. I haven't gone to India. I'm not ready. But anyway, she was born. And also, from the time I heard that message to start the adoption process, she was born exactly 9 months later. So. And then that's why I wanted her to wait, because I didn't get to India till, you know, a few months later, and she was already
Now
born.
she's obeyed. Now, you know, there's a time. You just give her a message.
Yeah.
Give her a message, whatever. She obeys.
Not always.
Well, wait,
Not
maybe
really.
ready
I wish I
and
could
somebody
say
and then start it
very
forward.
It's not really like that.
You know, I was thinking of one story I just want to tell you because it's quite quick, and it's about dreams. And this is, you know, I really feel that one of the ways that Baba comes now, because we haven't been able to see him physically, is he often will come in a dream to people. I mean, not all the time. It's a rare thing, but sometimes people get a dream of Baba, and it's really Baba. It's not, you know, it's really the way he can contact us. So I have a fear of airplanes. And I used to have a lot of dreams of airplanes crashing. So in my dream, I'm in the airplane, and the airplane is going down, and I'm screaming. And Baba shows up, and Baba says, it's very simple. Here's what you do. When the plane, he doesn't say I'm going to save you or anything. He says, when the plane hits the ground, what will happen is it will be like there's a light curtain, and you'll see a tear in the curtain. So what you do is when you see the tear, jump through to the other side, and I will catch you.
Oh my God.
I said, okay.
How could you be afraid?
I know. So he'll catch me.
Beautiful. Oh my God. Every part of your life experience with Baba, it's wonderful. It's amazing.
Even when there's hard things, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's all learning from this.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I look back, you know, my husband was killed in a car accident. That was very sad. However, I never felt Baba closer to me than during those times. He just held me, you know. So I can't say, oh, that was a bad thing. I mean, he needed to go, and I needed to feel that complete trust and being taken care of, and that it was really okay. You know, we have this idea everybody should live until they're, 80, I don't know what, but that's not the way it is. Some people go early, some people live longer. It's not our plan.
Kristin, can you tell us about Ishtiyaq, Baba's song? And how did you learn it? And then sing it for us?
Is there time? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, Ishtiyaq, Baba wrote the words and the music, and it's so beautiful. We're so fortunate to have it. And this Rhoda Mystery taught it to me.
Which year?
Long time ago. Well, she was living at Mehrabad. There were no trees or anything there. We just went out in the back, and there were a few little trees on the hill. I remember she taught me in that place, but everything else there was nothing. And must have been, 82, something like that. She was very sweet
There's a
person.
wasp in the house, just so you know.
So the meaning of Ishtiyaq is when your passion for God becomes intense beyond limits, you will see His glory right in front of your eyes. What can I tell you about what you will become when you lose your ego? You yourself, the lover, will become the beloved. He whispered in my ear the secret beyond the veil. I will become all yours when you become all mine. And so all the women Mandali all knew this song, and they always would sing this. So, you want me to sing this?
Yeah, please, please.
Ishtiyaq shoka jabada se siva ho jayega. Ishtiyaq shoka jabada se siva ho jayega. Samne aako ke bojal vanuma ho jayega. Samne aako ke bojal vanuma ho jayega. क्या कहूँ दिल को देखो करा तू क्या हो जाएगा. क्या कहूँ दिल को देखो करा तू क्या हो जाएगा. वासिले होगा बंदे से खुदा हो जाएगा. वासिले का होगा बंदे से खुदा हो जाएगा. कानों में आकर कहो गए मुझे पर्दे की बात. कानों में आकर कहो गए मुझे पर्दे की बात. मैं तेरा हो जाऊंगा जब तू मेरा हो जाएगा. मैं तेरा हो जाऊंगा जब तू मेरा हो जाएगा. Shya Keshav Gajabhara Se Siva Ho Jai Eka Samne Aako Ke Bhujal Vanuma Ho Jai Eka.
Gee, Baba, so
Hey, Baba.
beautiful. You really sing it so beautiful.
Aren't we so fortunate that he left us that, huh?
Yeah. And
Guys.
you learned it so many years ago from Roda Mystery.
Mm.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Okay, what do you think if we close it now because we didn't take any break and you just talked, they couldn't do anything? Would you like to say the last things, whatever you like, and then we ask you, please come again for next week and continue the wonderful
have anything
stories,
left.
wonderful memories, yeah? Yes, Charlie?
We've told our only stories and sang our only songs. What next?
I hardly believe that, given all the years.
That's what Rustam said on volume 1, and then he wrote 5 volumes.
You know, one thing I was thinking of in conclusion is that people come to Baba in so many different ways. Some people are seekers. They have a relationship to God, but they're looking for a more personal relationship. I came backwards, you know. I didn't believe in God, and I fell in love with Baba. And because Baba says he's God, then I had to think, oh, maybe there is God. If Baba says that he's God, then, so it's like coming in the other direction. He says he's, whatever he says he is, because I just love him. It's like, okay, that must be true.
Must be true.
Must be true.
And Charlie, did you train the children and Baba's teaching, Baba's love, or
Well,
let them to
as well as we could, I
experience
guess,
themselves?
as well as, now we look back when they're grown up and we go, oh dear, we should have told them this and we should have told them that, and, you know,
Oh,
but we would, you know, at Merazad on Sunday now, they, sometimes a song and a film, and so we would bring our children and we would sing a song together. We have a little, you know, the cute little, you know, banjo family sing a song together, you
children
know.
and parents.
5 of us sing a little song together.
What do you mean? You say you should tell them this, that, and then why?
No.
You mean more about Meher Baba?
Yes, right, that's what I mean,
You
more
think
about
they
Meher
need
Baba.
to know it so much, so many things, or no, they experience it, right?
Well, of course, on one level we say, we brought them here to Baba Samadhi, and, you know, the rest is between them and Baba.
Right.
So,
Yeah, this is, I also feel it, I
but,
feel like
I
that.
think we,
about
you know, we
children.
see the troubles sometimes, they go through a difficult period in their lives, and they go, well, where's Baba in your life in all this? And we go, something missing, or, and it is, but it's for them to connect with Baba, and Baba to connect with them. So, but when we moved, as we said, to Tamil Nadu, and we were there for 5 years, and our son was 4 at the time, and we were always talking about Baba, and talking about going to Baba's home, and so he was maybe 4.5 when he came here the first time, and so he came here, and within the same day he said, well, you said Mayor Baba was going to be here, so where is he? You know, it's like, oh, well, I'm really sorry that we deceived you, you know, but, you know, it was not, for a 4.5-year-old saying Baba's everywhere is not satisfying.
No, right. Too abstract.
Yeah, and so, but he had his own little experiences here. So.
And the other one?
Yeah, they all had, you know,
They have their connections to
they all
Baba.
had their individual connection to Baba. How can
Sometimes
they help
they-
it when they come here as children?
Yeah, everybody has his own.
Our youngest daughter is very fierce. So she came here in a crisis a few years ago, and she said, I demanded for Baba to show up in my life.
See, I've had enough of this. Oh, you're in a Baba family. Enough of this Baba family stuff.
I want my own.
It's me and Baba or nothing.
And sure enough, he came through.
Sometimes it's helping
Yeah,
you
he
with blind
did, he
mind,
did.
nothing, you know,
He did.
without anything, just experience him and hug him, you know. That's, I don't know.
She
And
just-
we did, we all of us.
All of us.
Who took us to Baba before, you know, in this life. But, yeah, it was
Sweetheart,
insane.
you have a nest. There's 6 things flying around.
6.
Oh,
yeah,
they're there.
The last for coming out.
Okay, let us. Can you
The nest
call?
outside.
Yeah, please,
And
please
you
open
need
it.
to, like, with a towel. With a towel.
Okay,
just
let us
shoo
close the meeting
They'll fly to
today.
that one in a minute.
Okay, would you like to say Avatar Meher
Baba
Baba Ki
Ki
Jai?
Jai.
We close today, and hopefully we can be with Charlie and Kristin Kehler again and listen to their beautiful stories. Jai Meher Baba.
Jai Meher
Baba.
Hey.